Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a combined check-in for week 7 and week 8. I was not able to get on earlier this week and get a recording up for my check-in for week 7, and now we're almost at the end of week 8, so I'm throwing them both together. We are doing things. We are meeting ourselves where we are at, and we are doing things in the way they make the most sense for us. So join me as we talk about the artist way and check in on this journey. I will say the morning pages are doing their thing. I have not missed, I think total since I've started, I'm ending week 8 out of 12 weeks, and I have not missed a day of morning pages. I think it's been one day that I've missed, and there have been a few days where I haven't written it first thing in the morning, and there was one day specifically where I wrote it like way later in the day. But I do see the value in, like, I call it like a brain dump practice. I think calling it morning pages is perhaps not the best branding. Writing it in the morning, I've definitely seen benefits. And I have ADHD. I'm not willingly a morning person, but I will say that having ADHD, I've noticed that my brain function is better in the morning. And if I can direct some of that focus and creative attention towards my creative practice in a way, and kind of like use that time of day as a lightning rod to like point my energy at the thing that I want to get done, I find that it's actually really beneficial for me to do that practice in the morning. That being said, someone who has a hard time building habits, someone who is not always a morning person, someone who struggles with their bipolar and the depressive episodes that come along with that, I want to say that I think a brain dump practice where you write 3 pages, just free stream, like just brain dump, get it all out, clear the channel, clear the cobwebs, get yourself open for ideas to flow. I think that is the most important part of it. If you can do it in the morning, great. If not, I don't think that's the end of the world. I do think the practice itself is valuable. I know there's also a lot of discourse, and in a lot of books I've read about creativity and writing, specifically of writing on a computer, laptop, tablet situation versus writing with a pen in a notebook or a pencil. And as someone who has chronic body pain and has issues with my right shoulder, I'm right-handed. I am not able to always, I always am able to write my morning pages in the journal, but like sometimes I'm not able to do certain things because of that. And so if you feel like that's another limitation, you can type it up. I would say try to avoid doing it on your phone, just because I think all of us are feeling like I don't want to use the term brain rot because we're not talking about doom scrolling or anything, but like we all feel the way that the phones are kind of harvesting our energy and attention. As a stay-at-home mom, this is actually, I'm going off on a tangent here. As a stay-at-home mom, this is actually something I was really resistant to at first, because connecting with people online and being on social media and online was a way for me to like feel like a person, to stay connected. It made it less isolating. We had our first child and then immediately moved out of state. It was incredibly difficult. So I always hate talking in like strict binaries. I don't think phones themselves are evil. I don't think that even social media itself is evil if we can use it with awareness and willpower, but it is actively trying to get something from you. And I think that I was resistant to that because I benefited from the connection I got from it for so long. I think that I actually think the artist way has helped me in my recovery as like somebody who has an addictive personality, who struggles with things that give you that instant dopamine that we crave. This has helped me a lot, and I think it is, I've never followed a 12-step program. I don't necessarily think that we should follow any program as gospel, because I think that can end up being harmful, because we think anything that strays away from rules set forth by a person or a program can be wrong, and then we get into shameful thinking, and that's not helpful to anybody, especially us. And the whole point of recovery and creative recovery is to be helpful for us. So those are kind of some thoughts I have right now as to where I am in the program and like how it's impacted my outlook on things. So week 7 was recovering a sense of connection. I did most of the activities. There is actually a collage activity I have not done yet. I'm a collage artist. I collage all the time. This is more of like a vision boarding practice, which I don't always do, but I've done before. I did like how Cameron has you list 5 favorite films, look for common denominators among your favorite films, and then do this, do the same thing with like topics that you enjoy, and then find traces of those things in your collage. So I do think that that is something that I want to try. We live in farm country. It is harvest season. My kids have been hit hard by allergies. I am struggling with allergies. We've all been dealing with severe headaches because the temperature changes 40 degrees up and down every other day, and that's part of why I'm recording this as 2 weeks in one video. So that is something I'm going to go back and do. I do think that's like a valuable one. I did the rest of them pretty much. It's really funny because some of the stuff I had already done before, like as a part of my artist date, without knowing that those were the activities. So like I had bought myself a fancy candle for my altar and some studio socks so that I can like dance and do yoga and stuff at the house, before I got to the prompt about like pampering yourself and buy like your favorite item of clothing for no special occasion. I struggle with wearing socks. I hate the way they feel on my feet. So buying socks and actually spending money, not like a lot of money, but like a decent amount of money on socks for me was like a big deal. I did that. And I did that before I even saw the prompt. So I feel like that is a sign of like the progress and growth of the actual program. So how many days this week did you do your morning pages? All of them. Have you allowed yourself to daydream a few creative risks? I have. I've actually talked to my husband about taking a creative retreat. I would like to do some type of silent retreat or writer's retreat or artist retreat. I'm not one who's gonna go on a plane. I'm not one who wants to go gallivanting all over the world, at least not yet. We're still warming up to being back in the world, kind of. Like COVID kind of insulated me more, and being a stay-at-home mom was like that first layer of insulation, and then we had COVID, which kind of like made it even more intense. And then we moved to the middle of nowhere. So we are slowly but surely getting comfortable with being back in the world. Are you coddling your artist child with childhood loves? I was trying to do that. I did this a couple summers ago, actually. I watched the Harriet the Spy movie. I listened to the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook of the whole series of My Side of the Mountain, which, is about the kid who goes and lives inside of a hollow tree in a mountainside that his family owns. I remembered reading that, I think in 4th grade, and it always had a huge impact on me. Did you take your artist date this week? Week 7, I did not do an artist date, and to be honest, it had less to do with the date portion and more to do with the driving. I think I talked about this last time. It's a 30-minute drive for us to get anywhere. And we had a lot of appointments and like parent-teacher conferences and different things that were going on last week. And driving more was not in the cards for me. I did spend a lot of time working on things and doing things that I wanted to do just for the joy of it. I finished and hung up it's like a stitched meditation scroll thing. I put that up on the wall, finally. I did do a lot of stitching that week, which is something I do just for creative fun. But no, I did not take an artist date that week, and I didn't realize it till the end of the week. Did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? Not necessarily, no. I don't remember offhand. I don't document synchronicities. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. The program itself, the way it's paced, week to week, I feel like this could have been condensed a lot more, personally. I'm able to get through a lot of the practices that she has in like 1 or 2 days, and it just makes it really hard to stay focused. But I am doing the morning pages and affirmations, I think, is something that can be built into any daily creative practice and can be extremely helpful. Yeah, I didn't really have any significant issues. I had a couple instances, every once in a while I fall into the comparison thing, and it's probably one of the reasons why I've ended up in so many different creative pursuits. I make comics, I make collage, I do abstract painting sometimes. I share journaling prompts and I share poetry, and I am trying to write fiction, and I do stitching and I do crochet. I do all these things, and all of it has been born from seeing people online doing stuff and being like, man, I want to do that. So like, I don't want to call it the comparison trap, because I've actually taught myself how to do a lot of things and have developed a creative language for myself based off seeing what other people are doing and being like, wow, I would like to try something like that. That being said, there are times where I see someone's painting, I'm like, man, I'm never going to be that good. I'm never going to be able to sell a painting. I'm never going to be able to do this. And so I would say that's probably the most consistent struggle I have, and a combination of hypnosis tracks and the positive affirmation practice that I write in my journal with my morning pages has helped keep that minimal, I want to say. For the check-in for week 8 was recovering a sense of strength. I have done sort of all of these, not really. I did not plan my ideal day. My ideal day is like a solo retreat. But like, I did a lot of the listing stuff, color schemes, the new childhood part, which I thought was, I didn't agree with that question. I don't think, personally, I don't think dwelling on like how, like, I think that I ended up where I am, and that's where I ended up. Yes, things would have been different. If things in my childhood were different, like, that is just common sense. I think that everybody's life comes with baggage, and nobody is immune to what that entails. So we don't get to sitting here and thinking, I guess sitting there and journaling about how my childhood would be different. I mean, maybe it was triggering for me, and that's why I felt resistance to it. But it's also like, I can't go back and change how other people acted, and I can't go back and change how I acted. I can change how I am in relationship to those moments now. And so, this, like I said, the other activities for week 8 I haven't done yet, like planning your ideal day and like list 5 things you're not allowed to do. I don't remember what I did for that. I did something and I believe I drew it, but I don't remember what I did. How many weekdays this week did you do your morning pages? Have you been tempted to abandon them, and how was the experience for you? As I've already said, the morning pages have been incredibly illuminating for me so far. Did you do your artist date this week? I did. I went to my favorite little plant and knickknack shop, and I got a Venus flytrap and a glass dip pen, among other things. Have you been allowing workaholism or other commitments to sabotage your artist date? I don't think so. Like I said, the only thing that really sabotages it is me not wanting to drive. What did I do? I already said that. And how did it feel? It felt good. I was out running errands, and I took the most time out of the running errands to actually go walk around the shop I really liked that I never let myself go to. Did I experience any synchronicities this week? What was it? Not really. I did find an empty snail shell in the backyard. I think that my synchronicities are mostly just prone to my love of observation and looking at the world around me and paying attention to things that maybe other people wouldn't pay attention to. I've been going for my morning walks with the dog. And sometimes our afternoon walks, sometimes our evening walks. It depends on how late it is. It gets dark a lot earlier. And I wrote a whole chapbook of poetry. Not a synchronicity, but it definitely flowed, and it all came from observation and approaching the land the way I kind of view it, which is through like an animist lens and understanding that everything is sacred. Still processing that. It has been a really cool experience though. Were there any issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Every time I think this is the only thing that I have to deal with. Every time I think about like, how can I make money off of this? How can I have to reframe it, because it's not necessarily the money. Like, yes, it would be great to make a living off of my poetry and my art. Obviously, that's what we all want. I also want the world to be a better place. And I think that my work, being out in the world, makes it a better place. I think that I have wisdom to share with other people in regards to cultivating attention and cultivating a creative practice that might be difficult to do on your own. That is something that I think my work can share with people. And so I'm going to keep putting my work out there. And that is what I have to keep telling myself. That is the struggle that I have. The money will come when and if it's meant to come, but the work is meant to be out in the world. I think that's the biggest lesson I have so far. Because capitalism wants us to be worried about money and be worried about launching services and offerings and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's great. I would love to do that. I would love to be the organized person who offers a class that sells out to people. But I don't know, the world is a mess right now. So at the end of the day, I'm going to keep making my art. I'm going to keep writing my poetry, and I'm going to try to write my stories that I think will impact people and that I think will leave a positive, helpful, I don't know what the word is, like it will leave behind something meaningful for other people that are on the planet now and possibly people in the future. That's what I want. I want people who can look back at a body of work by a person who maybe remains obscure her entire life. You know, maybe my work stays mostly invisible my entire life. I made my zine Forever Place, which I was really proud of. I wrote it for a chapbook contest. It didn't get chosen. I loved it. I published it as a zine. I've sent it to a couple zine libraries, and I sent it to a shop in Chicago. And, you know, maybe no one ever reads it. Maybe no one ever appreciates it, but I'm proud of it. You know, I moved to a small town, like the town that I grew up, and I thought that I was going to hate it. And I actually am raising kids here and learning to love it. And a lot of it has to do with creativity and attention. And I think that when we live in a world like this where people want to make it miserable for other people, finding a way to make it beautiful for yourself is important. All right. Week 9 is recovering a sense of compassion. I will hopefully be back on schedule with that recording. I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you take time to do something creative today. And if you are out this weekend, I hope that you stay safe.